So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this program. I want to welcome you all. My name is Barbara Thomas, and I am the Executive Director of Communications, Alumni, and External Relations here at the Tippie College of Business. And I'm really glad that you are joining us for our career webinar, where today we're going to learn more about improving our LinkedIn profile. But before we do that, I do want to just share a few other things with you. So next, we do have one more career webinar opportunity for you at the end of March. And in that session, we'll be talking about making the case and preparing for your salary negotiation. You can register for that webinar through this link that I have here. You can always find these links on the Tippie alumni webpage. In addition, in the month of March, we'll be doing a number of programs as it's part of Women's History Month. And so we'll be we're kind of shifting our Tippie Women's Summit from an in-person event to a virtual event. And so you'll see here that we have quite a list of different programming. We'll be doing a webinar one every week in the month of March. Again, you can register for any of those through the Tippie alumni webpage. So all of our alumni webinars are open to the public. Feel free to share that information with your friends and associates. But I do want to share some information about something that you may not be aware of, and that is a new initiative at the Tippie College of Business. And what we are calling this is the Tippie Leadership Collaborative. Yes, TLC for short, people. Easy to remember, right? So what they can help you with is a number of different things. They can help you with customized training, where our faculty develop a special program for your employees in your business. Maybe your business is having a special event and you need a speaker. We can potentially plug in a Tippie faculty member into your event. So we can do a number of things, as well as partner with your company on research projects. So you'll see in this slide here that Stephen Courtwright and Allison Yoder are both very involved in this initiative. And we just want to make sure that you're aware of it, because it's a new opportunity where our faculty can provide expertise and assistance to your companies. So before we begin with our webinar program, I do want to go over just a few housekeeping different rules for you. So this is a Zoom webinar, not a Zoom meeting, and so things are a little bit different. So with that, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a PC, that there are actually two buttons. One of them is for a Q&A and one of them is for the chat. So if you have questions for our speaker today, what we ask is that you actually put your question in, guess where? The Q&A section. And so you simply click on that link, type in your question, hit enter or send, and we will try to get to as many of those questions as we can, but we will do so at the end of the program. In addition, I want to make sure that you're aware that the chat function is just a little bit different. You can still chat, but you don't have the ability to have a direct message with somebody else who is attending the webinar. You can send a chat to all panelists, or you can send a chat to all panelists and everyone. So if you want to go in there and say, go Hawks, you can go for it and do so. But we want to make sure you know those differences. In addition, you may have seen the words coming up across the bottom. So we have enabled live transcription for our hearing impaired guests. And so if you do not want to see that, you do have the options. And here's what you do. You go to the transcription button at the bottom, and you click on that, and you should have the option to hide subtitles. So you can hide it, you will not see this transcription. But if you do want to see it and you think the words are a little too small, you can choose subtitle settings, and that will pop open a window where you can increase the size of those subtitles. Again, these are all auto-generated subtitles, and they're only available in English. So with auto-generation, we just hope the computer says the right thing, correct? You know, hard to know, but we just want to give you that caveat. So now it is time for our program, and it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our speaker, Cindy Meis. So Cindy is a Wisconsin native turned Hawkeye, and she is the Director of Career Management for the Tippie College's Specialty Master's Program. Cindy has been with the university for more than 10 years, of which many of those years have been focused specifically on career coaching and advising. She believes that hard work, education, And dedication and creativity are the keys to success. And frankly, I couldn't agree more. So prior to her employment with the University of Iowa, Cindy gained professional experiences in project management, sales, marketing, and client services across industries, including direct supply medical in Milwaukee, Retech Oracle Software Solutions in Minneapolis, and Goldman Sachs Global Investment Firm in Chicago. Cindy loves all things that Iowa City has to offer, making her home here with her husband, Mitch, who is a local business owner, and their 4 children, Jack, Sam, Kate, and Will. And with that, I will turn our program over to Cindy. Cindy, take it away.
All right. I just want to make sure I am sharing the right screen, and I think I am. Does that look good to you, Barb?
Perfect.
So I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to keep things moving forward. So I'm Cindy Meis with Tippie, and I'm excited to be here because a lot of times I am working with students. And so it's really nice to be able to share our expertise and our resources with the alumni population. So a few things I will just tell you. This presentation absolutely has more slides than I would ever recommend someone having. It has 29 slides. So we are going to move quickly through the process and share out quite a bit of information. And we will share this information post-program with you. Barb will recap that in just a bit. There will be no online polls and there will be no breakout sessions. So if you have 2 screens, typically when we do something like this in person, I would encourage you and tell you to feel free to have LinkedIn up while we're doing this, or save that for another time and come back to this. I'm going to leave time for questions at the end, but feel free to certainly add those to the Q&A. Barb will be keeping an eye on that. We'll look for sort of trends, perhaps areas that I'm missing or need to dive into a little bit more detail. And if we don't have time today, I will revisit those to make sure that you are getting the direction and the resources you need. I'm also hoping that you will leave here with 2 action items. So we'll get to that towards the end of the program. And then I also really hope that this program will offer you a little bit more understanding of why LinkedIn is important, but also have you feeling comfortable and confident in using that. So with that, as long as I don't use the scroller on my mouse, we won't see a lot of weird things happening. So I want to dive in. So we want to start creating an online brand. We're focusing on LinkedIn today because LinkedIn is the #1 professional website platform for professionals to be using. It is the best way to manage your network in this sort of virtual and paperless world. And I think COVID has only made that more true. We want to be really deliberate and have that presence. There are plenty of other online platforms, and those are really designed to allow you to socialize and share and create community. But we really want to use LinkedIn as that primary platform, and then use things perhaps like Instagram, if you're in more of a design space, to support that LinkedIn brand. My husband uses Twitter all the time. It is his favorite space. And that's a great place for those industry trends, creating opportunities, and again, those connections. So I would encourage you, use LinkedIn as that primary place to professionally build your brand, and then decide which other ones will be supportive in creating an additional stronger brand. So why LinkedIn matters? So why LinkedIn matters? There are 610 million people using it. And what I love about it is it is across 200 countries. So it is everywhere. 97 million monthly unique visitors. So people are going in there, maybe not coming back, but we want you to be those people that are coming back. 89% of recruiters reported having hired someone through LinkedIn. And then I actually just read an article this week that it said recruiters actually find it odd when professionals don't have a LinkedIn presence. So if you aren't using LinkedIn, which I hope after today you are, you better have a reason, or you want to start thinking about what your reason for not having a LinkedIn profile is. And there may be a very good reason, but we want to know that you are utilizing the resources around you, you're tech savvy, and you're building that professional brand. So overall today, we want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn profiles and how they are different from resumes. We are going to dive into your brand and keywords. So headshot, banner, customizing that URL, visuals get noticed. And so we want to take a little time to talk through those. Keywords, so we want to figure out where to start. This can be the most overwhelming part. And I hope I've broken it down in a way that is less overwhelming. So we will talk about the headline and summary and a little bit about the experience section of the LinkedIn profile, and then dive into some functionality in terms of platform engagement, groups, posts, sort of connection recommendations. We want things that enhance your brand. We want to keep things simple. And then in the end, we want to talk about how we connect appropriately. As Barb already mentioned, we will definitely leave time for Q&A, but feel free to use that Q&A function, or we can certainly follow up with you after the program. I am also not looking at the Q&A and the chat because then there's a lot of different windows. So I apologize if there is something, and Barb, don't hesitate to interrupt at any point. I'm just, again, trying to be respectful of everyone's time. So let's dive into this. Resume versus LinkedIn. No doubt they are similar, but they are also very different. So when we look at the resume's function is specifically about active job seeking. You may use it if someone wants to write a bio, or you're going to be selected to be on perhaps a professional board, but most of the time it is for active job seeking. So it definitely needs to be tailored, specific position, specific company. And if you are using a standard sort of generic resume, you do want to take the time, if you're applying to target corporation, to use words like supply chain and retail, things that customer centric, those types of languages that would be attractive to that employer. It is definitely more formal, and we want to not have a photo on there. And the reason for that is human resource and hiring managers do not want any shape or form to be thought that they are perhaps discriminating or giving favor to anyone because of appearance, ethnicity, or anything of that nature. And I bring this up because it is not uncommon it doesn't usually happen with our banking type folks. They're pretty straightforward in terms of what their resume looks like. But if you're in the marketing field and you do a design style resume and it starts getting columns or maybe some graphics, it is very common for that candidate to want to put their photo on it. This also happens a lot with some of our international candidates because, again, hiring is different in different places. So no photo on that resume. Now, we are here to talk about LinkedIn, so I want to talk to you about that profile. So the function of the LinkedIn profile is to actually create and establish a network and then enhance your brand identity online. It is definitely a wider audience because it could be anyone from within industry or various positions of interest. It could be people that you have common expertise. It could be your peers. And so that is wider and greater. This is actually what I love about LinkedIn. It is less formal. So as you are in LinkedIn, I almost want you to feel, if you were to look at my LinkedIn profile, to really feel my tone, maybe understand me and my personality a little bit more. Now, you may not know this, but before the presentation, Barb told me I had to really work on sitting back because I can be a little too loud. But I like being active and sharing my energy. So I am really working hard today to sit back. And I hope you feel a little bit of that energy when you're looking at my LinkedIn profile and as we talk about my keywords later. So the photo, the banner, the URL, super important. They add more color and more content to your online brand. It can tell a story. It can show that personality. It might highlight values, but it all goes back to that online brand. So today we are going to focus on some of these areas. LinkedIn will tell you in order to be an all-star, you want to kind of focus on all 10 of these. We are going to focus on the things in gold. Go Hawkeyes. Because these are the areas I think I typically have the most questions on. It does not matter that it doesn't mean that the other areas aren't important. determining industry, thinking about putting media on your profile. And the details absolutely matter, but we're going to focus on these other 5 and go through those specifically as we move ahead. So we want to understand brand. I think people throw this word around a lot. And I want you to think about brand in a couple of different ways. Like I said, sort of visual, but also sort of feeling and what you want to share. So my next slide is my favorite slide, and I'm kind of peeking at it, so I got a little distracted there. So here are some logos, and I hope these logos make you feel something. They may give you an impression, pride if you're a Hawkeye, which most of you are. We have some guests, I'm sure. I put Coca-Cola on there because I go to McDonald's every morning and get a Coca-Cola, but now Coca-Cola is in the news. So you may feel one way or another. GameStop, another one, lots of opinion on that this week. But, perception and feeling, we look at Apple and we think about technology and all of that they have done with the iPhone and the Apple Watch, the Gates Foundation in terms of giving back, the Honest Company in terms of maybe purity and quality of product. We're using Zoom like crazy, and a Tesla always gets our attention. So these are the things that make an impression, and they leave an impression. They give us a feeling. Someone who's done an Ironman might feel really proud, or there's an expectation that person is strong and has a different kind of, in my opinion, a different kind of mindset that's not made for just anybody. And so these logos are just the start of how we want to think about brand. So your brand, in the simplest terms, is really equal to your reputation. What does someone think about you when they see your name in an email, or you are perhaps assigned to a team with them? So for me, I really hope when someone sees my name, or they're getting a text message from me, or something like that, they're like, Cindy's going to have some good ideas, or Cindy will be able to keep this meeting moving along, or Cindy will help me figure this out. I consider myself a little bit of a master brainstormer. I don't know always exactly how to execute, and I like to surround myself with sort of diverse and smart people, but I love to come up with different ideas and kind of figure out what might be the best thing to move us forward. And I want you to start asking these things about yourself. What do you think people feel about you? But more importantly, what do you want people to start thinking about you? Because these are the things that we want to be considering as we build and support your brand. I believe that we actually have the ability to change those perceptions and also live up to those perceptions. So that's why I want you to ask those questions. What do people think about me now? And what do I want people to be thinking about me? So we're going to start incorporating your brand into LinkedIn. And this is done with both visuals and with content. So LinkedIn, people remember what they see. So we want to talk very much like those logos that we just viewed. There's an impression, and we want your LinkedIn profile to also give an impression. Headshots, profile banners are 2 of those things. And then there's the customized URL, which maybe isn't too graphic, but it's typically on your resume, and the 3rd component that we want to talk about in terms of those visuals. So the headshot, a few things that you need to know about it is just in terms of format, but the headshot typically allows your LinkedIn profile to have 14 times more likely to be viewed. So that's really interesting. And, when people don't have a photo, again, it's a little bit of like, are they really serious about using LinkedIn? So we want you to smile, look into the camera, and then also avoid mistakes like sort of things that are what we would call unprofessional. It could be something that's distracting in the photo, something where they've obviously trimmed or cropped someone out. Social event pictures, I think sometimes people think, I was at the University of Iowa gala. We don't actually have one, but let's pretend we do. We had this gala, so I was all dressed up. And because it was a work event, that picture is appropriate. I would say it's not. I don't want to see you in an evening gown, or even a tuxedo can seem a little off. So think about suits. And what I really like about the photos that I'm showing here is I'm showing you 3 people in suit coats, but I'm also showing you 3 people who aren't. And these are all people I know, and I've shared them for reasons. Again, pretty typical standard stuff when it comes to the professionals in the suit coats. But the other people are in startups, nonprofits, and then there's also a young lady who is a recent grad. All of them look professional. They're all looking in the camera and they're all smiling. Now, I will also tell you, keep this simple. I have taken 100 pictures of students standing against a blank wall in our hallway. It doesn't have to be taken by a professional person. And you can take 50 photos and then pick out which one you like best. And again, it can be more of this. It can be from here up. You can really decide. And you know, visit other places and other, when I say other places, other profiles, and see what you like. See what is happening in the industry of your interest. I did want to share one more spot. So this headshot has that open to work banner. And this is important to just share. It is not meant for everyone. There's a lot of people that perhaps want to keep a job search very private and confidential. So that's not for you. But if you are perhaps a recent grad or looking to make a career shift and have left a position and have the support of past coworkers or supervisors, this is something perhaps you want to use. The other place I think it can be effective, specifically in the time of COVID, we're experiencing some layoffs and some furloughs. And typically your network wants to support you, and being open to work is very appropriate. So don't be afraid to use that if you feel comfortable. So now I want to talk to you about the LinkedIn banners, and I am really excited. So as we were putting this program together, Barb and I were chatting, and there are lots of places to find free banners. You can Google search it and find all sorts of different things. But the team has created 8 free designs for you. These are just 2 of them. I wanted to show you sort of a University of Iowa version, and then also one that was just sort of office and maybe tech, maybe even a little startup specific. So the link is in this program. You will get those after the program. So there's 8 out there for you to have easy access to. But I also want you to think about what is meaningful to you, what speaks to who you are and your brand. So I am not a University of Iowa alum, but I work for the university, and my role is to create opportunities for the university and for our students and faculty. So that drives so many of my interactions on LinkedIn. So I'm going to use a University of Iowa banner. My photo is less University of Iowa because I want to be known for myself as a professional. So I'm not wearing black and gold or those types of things. But think about what is important to you. You know, the Tippie alumni network is awesome and amazing. And if someone pulls up your profile and that banner is black and gold or has the old capital on it, that's an immediate interaction or reaction potentially. But perhaps it's, you know, tech or restaurant and food, retail or healthcare. You can use an image that reflects your goals, your expertise and passions, and like I said, a connection. So the University of Iowa is an easy one. And just remember, again, people remember what they see and what gives them a feeling. I almost always gasp when I see a prospective student who is from Wisconsin. Immediately, I'm like, oh, I want to be the one that interviews that student. So the Tippie brand and connection is strong. So customizing the URL, I actually just used this slide to give you the instructions on how to do so. Customizing your profile URL just makes it easier to find you. It shows that you take time to have attention to detail, that you are technically savvy enough to take the time and go do that, and that you want to present your best self. And in my view, this is where there is some crossover. It has definitely a cleaner look, and it just looks better when you're adding that contact information to your resume. So I think it's important to do that. You may even decide as we go through this, as you're customizing that URL, that you want to add a keyword, and pick it carefully because you don't want this to get too long. So now we are going to talk about keywords, and words are everything when using LinkedIn. I want those words to make an impact, and I want them to count. So as you're enhancing your brand and your online presence, this is the part that's probably the most important. And I worry that it may be the most overwhelming part of the program. So I've done a couple of things. So I am asking you to basically summarize yourself, who you are, where you want to go, and what you have to offer. And then do that in a one-page profile. But not only that, today, I'm going to ask you to do that in 10 keywords. So this could be kind of stressful. It may cause anxiety, but I think I'm going to give you a tool that will help you. And then I'm going to also talk to you about where we can find those keywords. So this isn't really a worksheet. I just put some columns and shading into an Excel document, but I want you to start with 10 words. It's just a simple way for you to focus on areas that you want to highlight of your brand. And in 2 slides, I'm actually going to show you a completed worksheet with just my keywords. But, you know, thinking about the talent you want to describe, technical and specialized expertise that you might have, industry and function. And then there's an other, because I always think there's an other, or I think about it later. So this is that framework to just start getting some words in one place. So where are you going to find these keywords? These keywords are all over the place. And that, again, can be a bit overwhelming. But what I would tell you is look at your resume. What are reoccurring themes or words? I would, because I like to print things, I love to have a piece of paper. I would print my resume and I would start highlighting words that are reoccurring and speak to also where I want to go. I've said it before, don't be afraid to look at other people's profiles in LinkedIn. They're out there, they're public, it is not creeping and it's not weird. Spend less time figuring out who's looked at your profile and spend more time engaging, but use those LinkedIn profiles that are out there to see what catches your attention. Much like the resume, if you are actively job seeking or you have plans to move or career transition, start looking at job descriptions and postings of interest. Print out a few and start highlighting the things that they want and they are looking for. And then figure out if you have those. It's also a great way to figure out if you have some gaps that you need to fill. But those are those keywords that you'd want to be using. There are people who are very sort of company or industry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, focused. So it is absolutely a good idea to look at mission statements and value statements of those industries. Now, I did put Gallup strengths on here because in the academic space, we typically talk about those a lot. I, for example, am in a maximizer, a relator, and a consistency and some other things. But the maximizer one is the one that resonates with me. And so I can't assume that other people know what a maximizer is. So I have to start talking about it. And I am one of those people that likes to apparently take something that's good and make it great. And I do. And that comes into play when I am brainstorming and moving things forward. So Gallup strengths are a really fun and interesting thing. And we can talk about that a whole nother time. But if you know your Gallup strengths, you need to also make sure the person reading about them understands them if you're going to use keywords related to those. Licensure, expertise, any sort of accreditation. So the first thing that comes to mind, a lot of finance people will go with the CFA, and there's different levels. So that would be a great thing to highlight. Industry roles, areas of interest. I've talked about this a little bit with the company and the mission statements. And then geography. And I put this on here for a few different reasons. We'll talk about it a little bit when you're doing the zip code with your profile. But when it comes to geography, there's some people that are very interested in urban settings or have a global or international expertise. And it would be even okay to say, you know, like Denver and area or Iowa City and corridor, because that will help if you are in fact job seeking to narrow in that focus. And then I think it's important to always look at values. Sustainability is a really easy one for me to use, but there are people where the values, not only for themselves, but of a future company, or connections and groups are important. So that might be something that falls into the other. So now I'm going to show you what my keywords look like. And so I put in here just some things that, like I said, would help me define who I am. It might help me speak to who I am in what I would call like my little 30-second elevator pitch. But these are the things that kind of describe me. Like, I am a problem solver. I do like to lead and move things forward. I do my best when I'm collaborating, and I'm always very, in the academic space, student focused, but prior to that, very customer centric. Technical and expertise. I'm going to tell you, I failed you a little bit here. I didn't put a lot in here, but I was just, like, my expertise is really in that career coaching, but then also data and placement. But what I think I'd really like to encourage you to think about is, if you've got experience in SQL, Tableau, or Salesforce, like I said, we talked about the CFA just a little bit ago, really picking some technical or specialized expertise. And that would change highly likely by industry. So don't ever be afraid to highlight those technical skills. I would say, currently higher education, training, and coaching. If I were shifting gears and wanted to leverage my experience, it might have something like corporate trainer instead. And then the other is that zip code in Iowa City and surrounding, because this is where I make my home. And then an area that I didn't touch on a lot here, but I have quite a bit of experience on the corporate engagement side. So I just wanted to list it as other. Now I'm going to tell you, I actually had a third slide that I took out because I did want to expand on this a little bit, but I would really recommend sticking close to 10, if it's 9 or if it's 13 keywords, because what we're going to want to do is reuse these words over and over and over as you are creating your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn and keywords. So here's the areas we're going to start using those keywords. And I can't believe I did this all on one slide. So this may be, Barb, where we end up having some questions. But one of the things I want to talk about, when you are saving as on your PC, your professional photo, an attachment, perhaps a work sample, there are tiny little algorithms in LinkedIn that can play to your benefit. So instead of saving your photo as Cindy generic professional photo, I would encourage it to be saved as Cindy.careercoach.collaborator. Corporate engagement. I'm trying to think of my keywords, because those are keywords that we're going to repeat over and over, and they might as well be attached to these other resources and enhancements. So anytime you're saving as and then going to upload or attach it to your LinkedIn profile, use those keywords as part of your save as title. Profile setup. You want to pay attention to that zip code because, whoops, sorry, everyone. You want to pay attention to that zip code because, again, it can impact perhaps who's finding you or if you are job seeking. And that is actually in your profile setup. It's not on the actual profile page. It's probably in your settings. So headline, 120 character limit. I'm asking you to do so much in just 120 characters. And you will have the link, or you can look me up now, Cindy Meis, M-E-I-S, on LinkedIn. And not that mine is perfect, but I want you to see what I've done. I've picked some keywords that I want to be recognized for. Now, typically, it's super easy just to put in your job title, and a lot of people will do that specifically if they aren't seeking. But I really would like you to think about the experiences you want to leverage, expertise, perhaps problems you can solve for future employers, an ability to make an impact, unique characteristics that you have, technical skills, languages, exposure to global work environments. The only exception may be is if you are the CEO of Tesla or the dean of the College of Business, and that's how people are going to find you, where you're going to have that job title. So most of us don't fall into that bucket as influencers or super high level. So really think about what are these characteristics and keywords that you've created that you would want to highlight in that headline, 120 characters. Now, the summary section, you have 2,000 characters. So it needs to still be readable in about 10 to 15 seconds. And it is sort of the equivalent of that elevator speech. What I love about LinkedIn, and I think I've already said it, but you can use I statements in this platform. So you can tell stories and you can speak in your voice. But I will also tell you, remember, a lot of people are looking at these things on their mobile device. So those first 2 lines are the most important. Now, if you have already clicked over to my profile, I will tell you in my summary, I have my email address right there. Because if someone wants to hire a University of Iowa student or talk to me about opportunities at the University of Iowa student, I absolutely welcome them to link in with me, but I want to remove one barrier and just have them email me directly. I learned about this in my own, a different webinar one time, and I have never, ever been spammed or junk mailed. So I just want to kind of point that out.
Cindy, could I just interrupt for a minute? So one, I want to do a quick time check in that we're approaching 20 minutes, just so you're aware of that. But while we're on this slide, I do have a question that came in about the geography as a keyword and setting up that zip code. What if you are interested in working elsewhere from where you are currently located? How do you treat that?
I would probably put the zip code in of where I'm at, but then in my keywords, something to, expanding to the Denver area. It could also be in your summary. So the profile setting of the zip code, because most of the time an employer, we want to be upfront and transparent of where we're at, but also where we want to go.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I thought I might get that one. Okay. So in the experience section, not spending a lot of time on this, but it will mimic your resume, but it is important to share more than just the responsibilities. So I want you to think about outcomes or results or lessons learned. And again, that's something I did in my own LinkedIn profile. I kind of shared statements about what I liked or what I've been doing, or I think I said something about the future being bright working with undergrad students. And so those are the things that paint that color and show our personality. And typically, in a recruiter who may be looking at your LinkedIn profile already has your resume, so it doesn't have to be redundant. And we want to also make it a little bit more concise. And so you're using your keywords in all of these places over and over. So now we are going to just cover some general LinkedIn profile sort of basics. So we've set up the profile, hopefully your picture, your banner, you've worked on your headline, you've worked on your summary, you've dropped in some materials related to your experiences. So now we are going to start paying attention to some other things. So the skills and endorsement section, I will just share quickly. I have a lot of experience in the event planning space. I have created and done events with student groups, with alumni groups, family weekend, Make-A-Wish game day. I've done career fairs at the undergraduate level for several years, and I can plan an event. My neighborhood knows I can plan an event. And so what I was finding in my skills and endorsement section is everyone was endorsing me for event planning. And I'm good at it, but I was worn out, and that's not where I wanted to go. So I want everyone to understand you manage this section. So get in there and edit it. So you can see I took out event planning. I wanted nothing to do with it. I did change it a little bit because it is also a little bit of managing a project, and I can do that as well. But these are the things I wanted to highlight about myself. And so I reordered, I pinned, and I created the skills and keywords that I wanted to highlight. And they really should reflect who you are and where you want to go. So don't be afraid to go in there and delete stuff, even if it has been endorsed 27 times already. Manage this section and have it reflect where you want to be, where you want to go. You own it. This is one of my favorite sections that I think people ignore. Groups, there's tons of them. There's 2 million groups on LinkedIn, and it's a quick and easy way to expand your network and all of a sudden become closer connections with someone. So some similar interest areas that I just made a list of include University of Iowa. There's definitely a University of Iowa group. There's definitely a Tippie group. And then start thinking about industry. You know, if you are in healthcare or tech or retail or consumer packaged goods, banking, there are definitely industry and professional group pages that you should be joining and following. And it's a great place to identify trends, learn about hiring opportunities, share expertise, perhaps problem solve when you come across a problem you can share with peers. So these similar interests and common grounds just support everything that you want to be doing in LinkedIn. And you don't have to be in 87 of them. Again, let's choose the number 10, pick 10. Okay, so LinkedIn platform engagement. I broke it down just into 4 words. So this platform is designed to enhance your brand. So I want you to think about your career goals and keywords and be sure that your engagement reflects that. So picking groups that are appropriate, linking in with people that are appropriate, thinking about deliberate activity. It's designed to create visibility. So this is just another objective and another reason to be using LinkedIn. You want to be intentional, regularly logging in and engaging. So one of the things I always tell my new hires to do is actually to set a calendar invite for yourself to help you create that new habit of sharing regularly. So sharing regularly, this makes people panic. And I want you to share content. I want you to post events or write an article when you are comfortable. But for right now, it is okay to share someone else's content. And the easiest content to share is when you get that Iowa Now or your alumni newsletter and a faculty member that you adore has done something great, or the college is ranked, or we're rolling out a women's summit. Share that with your network. Those are easy ways to share, and it's low-hanging fruit, and it should not create any anxiety. Reuse the other content. And then the other thing you can do is simply comment. You know, congratulations, words of encouragement. I love what I'm reading here. And then we have had students over and over say they really like that say happy birthday function on LinkedIn, which seems a little weird because it gets a little more social, but it's a great way to just re-engage your network in a simple and easy way. So I want you to do it in a way that is painless and easy. Barb, the good news is I'm on slide 25 of 29. LinkedIn, connecting and connections. So I want you to have authentic connections on LinkedIn, but you also have to be proactive in doing that. So more than 500 is 100% recommended. If you can get over that 1,000% mark, that's really where you're going to start feeling some energy and some synergy. And it will just be that sharing, the connections become closer. And the fewer the connections, you just have limited reach. So expanding that off of a strategy of like, I want to connect with 5 alums this week, or I'm going to make sure I'm connected minimally to the people on my team or my department. And then I want to make sure I'm expanding that to 3 new people in the organization. I want to speak to people that are in brand management. And how am I going to do that? Well, you're going to do that with a personalized message or invite. So what I want to tell you about this is a couple of things. It is not doable on your mobile phone. So don't sit on your phone and start hitting LinkedIn, please. What you want to do is to do a personalized message that can be very simple and very straightforward. But even on LinkedIn, on your PC, sometimes it'll say, do you know these people? Don't start clicking those either. Find the person you want to link in, and I'm going to let you do this with me if you want to next. But go to that person's profile page, click on the connect button, and then it gives you the opportunity to personalize that message. And it can be very simple. It can be, I'm another Tippie alum, and I look forward to running into you again after homecoming. And because you're building this network now and surrounding you with people of common interest or expertise, because the purpose of LinkedIn right now is never to get the job, it's to build that network. So I want you personalizing message and invites, and again, keep it simple, don't overthink it. And then the other thing I would tell you, it is okay to not accept every invitation. Every now and then I get an invitation that is so out there. I'm like, I don't know this person. I would feel very strange reaching out to them. I don't know exactly how we got connected. And it is okay to decline the invitation. So I just want to share that. Okay. I am not sure. I think I might have missed this, but I want to just really quickly say, a lot of people will also ask me, another sort of frequently asked question is, do I need LinkedIn Premium? And the answer to me is no. You can do everything you want in terms of networking and engagement without LinkedIn Premium. Now, it's not uncommon. I think veterans, for example, might have free access to LinkedIn Premium, which gets you some in-mails. And so if you have free access or to Premium, go ahead and use it. But you don't necessarily need it to do the things that I'm telling you to do. So action item 1 is to pick 2 things to do and manage this project, because this has been a lot of information. I want you to begin working on your profile and starting engagement, but I don't want you to try to do everything I've told you today at once. It would be overwhelming and you won't like it. It won't be fun. And this really can be fun because it is something in terms of professional development that you have 100% control over. And there are very few things in life that you have 100% control over. So I want you to manage this like a project that I know all our Tippie students and all our Tippie alums can do. So manage this project. So today I would tell you to just pick 2 things that maybe you'd like to do before next week. So perhaps that's getting a picture to use and then saving it as with those keywords, and then picking out the 2 or 3 other things you want to do and create a time-bound goal to move you forward. So this is super manageable. It should not be done in one day. And it can, I'm going to say it can be fun. I think you can enjoy this process. The next thing I would do is I would welcome you to scoot over to LinkedIn and link in with me. I would love to hear from you. So you will go to my LinkedIn page and then you will click on that connect and send me a message and tell me what you liked about today, what perhaps you'd like to hear more about, or maybe what do you even plan to use LinkedIn for? I look forward to the opportunity we can grow our network together, because I have, let's say I have 1,500 connections. By the 2 of us connecting, we already expand your network significantly. And that's just an easy thing for you to be doing. Now, I just put this in here because when I'm all done with this, we're going to save this and we're going to share this out through Barb's email connections. But these are some of the books I've used. I've created some helpful links. The banners that Tippie has created for you are in here. And so I just want everything to be in one place so that you are able to review and access the information talked about today. And then I am going to stop talking. And if there's some Q&A that Barb wants to facilitate, we can do that. But I also want to point out Dee Hurst, one of my colleagues, is presenting in March, and she'll do an awesome job talking about salary negotiations and preparing for that. She is awesome because she's been in career services for so long, but she's also done it from the HR side. So I think that would be a really great opportunity for anyone to learn more about that area.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Cindy. Really helpful information. We do have a couple of questions that I will share with you. The first one I want to toss your way is, how do you address time away from work, like potentially several years, when you're listing your experiences?
So here's the thing about this. I know this can be really hard for people, or almost like what I call their Achilles heel. And it could be time away from work. It could actually be being fired. It could be any number of things. And I think we also have to just remember, we have to own it, right? It happened and you want to be ready to speak about it. So that might be something, as you're listing it out, you might, I don't want to say get creative because the dates are going to be there, but perhaps put that in your summary, you know, away from the workplace for 4 years, what you have done that will be useful and what you're looking to do next. So it's telling a story, and that's where that summary section is super helpful. And that's why it's almost better than a cover letter, or not a cover letter, a resume, because someone who you might put that information in a cover letter, they might not even read it until they want to bring you in, which is what I do. I want you to have a cover letter, but the LinkedIn allows you to explain, paint color, but don't ever apologize for your circumstances or your change or your path. It's yours, and I want you to own it, but be ready to talk about it.
Great. The next question is about someone who is starting a small business. Should you set up a separate LinkedIn account for the small business or for any business?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, because there's you as the professional and there's you as the business. And let's say you grow this business and you sell it. I mean, I don't know if it's tech or startup or, you know, a flower shop, but I think it's okay to have both.
Great.
Now, you also want to make sure that you're updating and engaging regularly. I mean, this is a real problem because let's say I start up a Facebook group for Tippie career management, which I want to do, but there is a little resistance because let's say I'm hit by a bus tomorrow. They want to make sure someone is creating unique and useful and meaningful content. So just being mindful of it is now a part of your business. And so how are you going to operate that?
So the next question is about what if you are currently employed and you're looking for employment? How do you set up your profile? Do you change things because you don't want your current employer to know that you're looking for work? You know, how do you navigate that? Are there little tricks or tips that you can provide?
Well, first of all, obviously you wouldn't use that banner open to work, but LinkedIn they understand this. So there are features where you can say like, not open to the public, but I am going to be open to work, and then you can pick some keywords and those types of things in your settings. Now, I think it's always okay you may not want to say a career coach looking to leverage her skills in energy. That's kind of a dead giveaway, like I'm moving into a different industry, but it's okay to be a professional who wants to learn and grow. So those keywords are going to get you where you want to go. You may have to be a little bit more discreet in terms of location. And perhaps, again, if you're making a shift to industry, but the keywords don't have to necessarily change.
What if you're a professional who has, you know, your day job, but then you have a side gig? So you're an accountant, but you do professional editing on the side. How do you position your LinkedIn profile to kind of take care of both sides of your work life?
Well, again, you got 2 lines to do it or 10 keywords, but there are people that do that. So, you know, it could be something, these are always hard because I want to give you good examples. Career coach who excels in technical savvy and, you know, maybe I'm doing something with computers, right? So it's okay to talk about where you're at and that you also, so doing it in 120 characters is tricky. And that's where you get really kind of playing around. So just figuring out, you may not have 8 keywords that you want to string together. You might have 2 jobs or 2 lives that you want to merge. So it's, you know, highly technical and computer savvy consultant and accountant, you know.
Right.
You will have to play with it, but you can do it.
Great. So another question is about how many years of work experience do you list? If you've been a professional, like perhaps I have for maybe a bit too long, how many years do you list? Or do you include things like your graduation year on your education if you are an older working individual?
Well, here's a few things. I know older professionals sometimes get a little funny about wanting to have their date on their resume. And we've actually asked recruiters about this. And I've seen it even in the hiring process, because a lot of people will take courses and not complete or earn the degree. So the date tells me you've actually earned the degree. So please leave it on there and use it. On the career path stuff, the further down you get, the less you even have to explain it. You could even say relevant information and everything else, right? And it doesn't have to have any bullet points, perhaps on your resume. You can, again, look at my LinkedIn profile, because I did it a little different, because I've been with the university for 19 years, but I've had 8 positions. But I didn't want to list out 8 positions. So I chunked it up and kind of rearranged it and made their formula work for me. So the hard part is a career services person. I don't want to see gaps on resumes. And if I do, I want them to be explained. Or for me, I want people to know that I have some corporate background that I have brought into the academic space. And it's getting further and further back, but I still want to list it with just fewer bullet points. So I hope that answers the question of, you can go back as far as you want, specifically if it makes sense to support where you want to go or how you want to be viewed.
Excellent, thank you. So how about those shares? You talked about sharing other content. Are all shares good shares? Is there, if you are, like our example from the question was, this person is an opinion contributor to a newspaper. Does this person share his or her professional, like, here's my piece from the paper, when it's very opinionated? Are there certain things that people should shy away from sharing when they are posting and being active on LinkedIn?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I always sort of temper things. I like to keep things a little bit more safe. However, you just also have to think about what industry you're in, right? And so if you are going to move around in that industry and you want to be recognized as a leader or someone with a voice in that industry, it's okay to share that, right? At the university, there is freedom of speech and access to information, but I also want to remember, I am representing the university and I want to be considered, what's the word? It's escaping me, but credible to my students and that sort of thing. So I would tell you, if that article supports your brand, it's share it. If it's a little more, like, if you view it as controversial, trust your gut. Probably don't post it. Find something else, because in 2 weeks you might have another piece that's really great or it's award winning. So yeah, you do have to make decisions, because it's out there forever.
Great. Well, I think that's all the time that we have for questions. Cindy, I just really want to thank you. I thought it was great information. I myself have my 1 or 2 items that I'm going to do on my own LinkedIn profile. And as for everyone out there, do remember, please go out and find Cindy on LinkedIn. You can find myself as well, Barb Thomas. I'm out there. You can't miss that black and gold Tippie banner on my webpage. So please feel free to join us. And make sure you visit the Tippie alumni webpage. If you go to the Tippie College website, which is just tippie.uiowa.edu, you can look over to the About button, and under that you will find alumni, and you'll see lots of information on the events that we have, so you can register for our other career webinar or the Tippie Women's Summit. You can find those LinkedIn banners as well. There's all kinds of information for you out there for you. So we want to make sure that you go visit that alumni webpage. Now, as Cindy mentioned, we will be sending an email in a couple of days with the YouTube link for this video, as well as Cindy's slides. Special thanks to Cindy for being willing to share her slides with everybody, but I think we all agree there's a lot of content in there that we can take forward. So look for that. And in addition, in just a moment, you will see a quick survey that will come through Zoom, and it's very quick. And we just want you to give us a quick read on how you liked this webinar. So if you can please do that, we'd appreciate getting some good, quick feedback from you. And don't forget to sign up for some other career as well as the Tippie Women's Summit. We have lots of offerings. There's lots of things that the Tippie College of Business can do for you as an alum. So please make sure you connect. So on behalf of the Tippie College Business and Cindy, our presenter today, I just want to thank you all for coming. And of course, go Hawks. Thanks again, everybody.